right, guys, this is where it happens. This is the listing appointment. This is where listings are won and lost. This is where you get to show up. You're all prepared. You got your listing presentation ready. You got your comps pulled. You got the homeward offer generated. And now it's time to show the seller why you're the right agent to sell their home, right? So a couple things before we get started. Number one, uh, if you've ever joined any of my Tuesday coachings, you've heard me say this. There's not a professional athlete out there, guys, who goes from the couch to the court, opens up the playbook for the first time and says, you know what? Let's try this play. This one looks pretty good. Just doesn't happen, right? Professional athletes practice 10 times more than they perform. And I would suggest to you that as real estate agents, part of the number 3 team in all of Keller Williams, you should be doing exactly the same thing. I want you to get with your team leaders, your assistant team leaders, your mentors, your lead listing agents, or just other agents on the team and practice this listing presentation with them. The more you practice with them, and don't ask them to be easy on you, ask them to really challenge you, throw some objections at you. Because when you do that, guys, and you practice like that, it makes the live scenarios so much more easy to handle. You walk in there confident and comfortable, knowing that you're going to be able to handle anything that's thrown at you. Right? So practice far more often than you perform. I promise you it pays off. The second thing I always like to do when I was taking listings, guys, is that I would find a tier 1 through tier 3 agent who is just hungry, who is excited to learn about listings. And I would ask them to join me. And their whole job during that listing presentation was to diligently take notes for you. Me personally, I always wanted to be engaged and involved in the conversation and not distracted. But I also wanted to make sure that I'm not missing important notes or topics when I need them for later. So I would ask that assistant for the day to take the notes for me so I can stay involved in the conversation. That assistant for the day is also going to be holding your item of value. Remember the 3-touch plan beforehand, and then bringing an item of value to the listing appointment. We're going to see where that comes into play, right? So they're going to hold on to the item of value for you until it's ready to give to the seller. So I would suggest to you that when it's time for the listing presentation, you arrive to the neighborhood or to the house 10 to 15 minutes early. And what I'm doing in those 10 to 15 minutes is I'm driving around the neighborhood. I'm looking at the comps that I pulled to feel confident and comfortable that they're still relevant comps, right? I'm looking at the area. What do the house conditions look like? What does the traffic look like? Are the yards maintained well? If it's in a neighborhood or an HOA, I'm driving by the community amenities like, hey, is this something we should be taking pictures of? Should we include this in the listing description? Are the HOA covenants and restrictions being upheld here, right? And then I'm going to the house. And I'll send a quick text message. Hey, Mr. Smith, it's Brandon. Listen, I know I'm 10 minutes early. No rush. I'm here when you're ready. If you're not ready right now, see you in 10 minutes. Guys, I just believe showing up early shows intentionality. And I'm a big believer that we should be not doing reactive real estate, but proactive real estate. I think that's one of the ways that you can be proactive. So as I'm walking up to the house, it's time to go meet the seller for the first time. I'm already looking for ways to improve the listing. So I'm looking at the yard maintenance. Like, is there grass cut? Do I need to recommend somebody to come out and help them edge, add mulch? Does it need pressure washing? How does the roof look? Is there any raised shingles from what I can see? Is the roof fairly old or does it look newer? Right? So I'm looking at all those things as I'm walking up to the door. Now, guys, my goal when I meet the seller for the first time is to earn a few yeses as fast as possible, right? There's actually a great book about this. It's called Never Split the Difference, and it's written by an FBI hostage negotiator, which, guys, I get that sounds aggressive, but what that book is about is using your words, your tonality, your body language to make a positive impact on the people you're speaking with, right? It's an important thing when it comes to negotiations and earning somebody's trust and relationship to be able to mirror and match them well, use correct language, tonality, and make them feel comfortable. He relates everything he learned as an FBI hostage negotiator to business, so it feels real world. So I'm going to earn a yes as fast as possible. So one of the ways I did that, knock on the door. Hey, Mr. Smith, it's Brandon. This is my assistant, Susie, for the day. Mr. Smith, is it okay if I call you John? And of course, they're going to say yes, right? They're going to invite you into the home. John, thanks so much for having us. Is it okay if we take off our shoes here? Yes, right? Awesome. John, before we go on the tour, would it be okay if I set my items down at the kitchen counter or the kitchen table? Yes, right? So I'm 3 yeses in, 4 yeses in before I ever get out of the foyer, right? And the thought process here is I just want them to get in the habit of saying yes. I'm pleasant, I'm positive, and I'm presumptive, right? So I'm setting my stuff down. Susie, my assistant for the day, has her notebook and the item of value ready to go, and she's going to start taking notes. So I would say to the seller, and I would make sure that the home tour is guided by the seller. We want the seller to know that we're in their home, we respect their space, and they're going to be guiding this tour. So I would say, hey, John, if it's okay with you, I would love for you to take me on a tour of your home. And John, with your permission, I'm going to look at your home through the eyes of a buyer. Now, John, as we walk through, I'm going to point out a couple things to you. I'm going to point out some things that you should absolutely do to help market your home and net you the most money possible. I'm going to point out some things that you could do if you wanted to do. And then I'm going to point out some things that if you really wanted to go to the extra mile, that you could do if you wanted to. John, is that okay with you? He's going to say yes. John, listen, thank you so much for that. My job here, John, is to make sure that you can net the most money possible for your home in the shortest amount of time possible. One of the things that I'm going to be talking to you about today is, and you'll notice this, John, as we list the home later and we get buyer feedback, that sometimes buyers aren't reasonable. And what I mean when I say that, John, is that a buyer's going to look at something and overestimate the cost in which it takes to repair that item. For example, if they see a scuff on the wall, they're going to be like, oh, well, this whole wall needs paint and it's going to cost me $2,000 to paint this wall. Well, John, they just took your $200,000 house and they made it a $198,000 house. It's our job today to take as many of those objections off the table as possible. Is that okay with you? Right? As they're walking through the home, I'm trying to earn a yes in every single room. So John, let's start here in the kitchen. It looks like you guys spent a lot of time in here. Is that right? The kitchen and the living room are the two most occupied areas of the home. They're of course going to say yes. Great, John. Tell me about the kitchen. What do you love about it? As he's talking, you make sure that your assistant's writing things down. If you hear something important, make sure you turn to your assistant and say, hey, Susie, would you please make sure you have that piece written down? That way nothing's getting missed, right? Now, guys, it's inevitable as you're walking through the house that you're going to see a smudge on the wall, crayons, handprints, dog marks, whatever that is. And that's why my favorite item of value that I used to bring was the 4-pack of magic erasers. So I would get to the wall and I would say, John, looking at this wall through the eyes of a buyer, what I notice here is a couple scuff marks. It looks like you probably got kids or a dog, right? And I would turn to Susie and I would just kind of put my hand out and she would put my magic erasers in my hand. John, I brought something for you. This is my wife and I's favorite tool around our house. We have kids and a dog, and we go around our house almost every day knocking off a scuff using this 4-pack of magic erasers. You may need more than this, but I just wanted to bring this to you. I thought this might be helpful for you as you prepare to list your home, right? Guys, it's a tangible thing that you can put in their hands. That's like, oh yeah, Brandon's providing me value. He gave me this, and this is helpful. Guys, it's just one small way, right? That 4-pack of magic erasers may have cost $4, but it's one small way to impact a seller and being like, man, he's already providing value, right? So you continue on the home tour and remember, pleasant, positive, and presumptive. So your language here is, hey, John, whenever we take our pictures of this home, will you please make sure that all the lights are turned on and all the shades are pulled up? Hey, John, when we list this home on the MLS, we'll be sure to add this beautiful chef's kitchen into the listing description. I'm assuming I'm earning this business. I'm being pleasant, positive, and presumptive that I'm going to earn this business, right? So at the end of the tour, I would say something along the lines of, John, I think I got a real good idea of this home and how Chucktown Homes is going to be able to help you to do this. Is it okay if we go sit back down at the kitchen table and talk about how we're going to accomplish this goal of selling your home for you? He's going to say yes, right? So now, guys, this is where a lot of agents kind of get nervous, right? This is where you have to have an actual interview. They're interviewing for this job of selling their home. And the listing presentation, in my opinion, goes like this. I always ran my listing presentations in a 3-part framework. And over hundreds of listing appointments, guys, I nailed this down pretty well, where I was getting 8 or 9 out of every 10 listing appointments I would go on, right? So those 3 parts is, part number 1 is all about them. Part number 2 is all about you. And part number 3 is the pricing, right? So let's dive into what each one of those parts look like. So the first one is, here's just an easy like script dialogue starter. It would go something like this. John, before I tell you anything about me or what we do, I want to make sure that this part is all about you. I'd love to hear more about your goals, timeline, and what you're hoping for in hiring the right agent, right? Guys, I got to assume that before you got there, that you got some level of motivation from the seller on why they're selling their home. So that might sound like they're moving for a job or moving to be closer to family, or you didn't get that at all. But this is your time to jump into that. And make sure you're asking open-ended questions, allowing them to answer, totally unrestricted, right? So, John, you told me that you were moving down to Charleston, South Carolina to be closer to family. Is there anything else bringing you to Charleston? Great. Tell me more about Charleston. What are you excited for down there, right? Ask those open-ended questions. Get them in the mood of talking, right? You also want to find out why or where they're moving, right? Because you want to be able to assist them in that. Hey, John, great news. I have a team down in Charleston, South Carolina that does a ton of business and serves clients at a really high level. Would it be okay if I partnered you with our top agent down there to help you in your home search, right? Or you're moving to Idaho. John, great. Listen, my team has personally interviewed and vetted dozens of realtors in almost every county in Idaho. Would it be okay if I got you in touch with our preferred partner out there where they can provide you a high level of service? Right? We want to help those clients in every aspect because that makes the transaction easier for them, right? What's your ideal timeline for getting on the market and moved out, right? Why is this important? If they say to you, hey, Brandon, I need to be out of this house in the next 7 days with an offer, the homeward cash offer might be a really appealing offer to them. Or if they say, hey, Brandon, netting the most money possible, and if we have a little bit of time to do that, the homeward offer might not make sense. New construction, again, hey, we need a guaranteed sell. Well, the cash offer might make sense, right? So you want to understand their timeline. Have you sold a home before? What was that experience like? Right? So if they say, hey, I had a great experience and here's what the agent did, do that, right? Replicate that. Let them know you're going to do exactly that. If they had a terrible experience, make sure you talk about how you don't do those things, right? I always used to like to ask these 2 questions at the end. The first question I would ask is there anything that you're worried about during this transaction? Anything I should know about to make sure I can help you through that? And the next question I would ask is, John, what are the 3 most important things for you when you hire a real estate agent? What are you really hoping to see in the real estate agent you hire? They usually say the same 3 things, right? It's communication, getting me the most money possible. Sometimes you get a commission objection here. And remember, you're not handling objections here. You're listening, and then you're addressing those concerns later. So now step 2 is all about you. And when I say about you, not only you, but Chucktown Homes. So a good segue into that is, hey, thank you so much for sharing all that. I really appreciate knowing your goals. Based on what you've told me, I think you're going to be really excited about what Chucktown Homes has to offer, right? Now you get to go into your marketing. Start talking about some of the amazing things that Chucktown Homes offers. As of this video, July 2025, we're the number 3 team in all of Keller Williams with an expansive network, right? Just in our team alone, 165 agents in 7 locations across 4 states with a database of over 140,000 clients. Guys, that's one of the largest real estate databases in the country for a team, right? That's an important marketing piece of what you need to be talking about with your selling clients. We're a Zillow Flex partner. We understand the back end of Zillow better than almost any team in the country. We understand the algorithm and how to properly market on Zillow, because we all can agree that the first showing doesn't happen when they walk into the home. The first showing happens on Zillow and Realtor.com, and we're preferred partners of each of those companies, right? We also use Zillow Showcase, which is an incredible tool that gives sellers a premium marketing tool to get their home into a massive spotlight, right? Only 1 in 100 agents can offer this product. I promise you that if you're competing with another agent, they cannot offer this program. Have that keyed up and ready to go, and pull up and show them what a Zillow Showcase listing really looks like and how much more attention that's going to bring to them. Don't just say that we hire professional photographers. Everybody does that. Let the sellers know that we hire the best professional photographers, that your team leaders in each of your locations have interviewed dozens of them to make sure we get the highest quality professional photographer in each of our markets to shed their home in the best light possible. If the listing makes sense, right, and it's a great listing and it looks good, we'll do the 3D home tours and the videos. We'll do the measurements and the floor plan and all that good stuff, right? Of course, we're not going to do that on, a house that's a handyman special, right? But if the house is in great condition and looks good, of course, we're going to do all those things. We have a full-time marketing coordinator on staff. The average agent doesn't have that, guys. They go into the back end of Zillow and Realtor.com and make sure everything looks great, right? Our team comprises of between 15 and 35 agents in each of our locations. On the end of the phone for every single one of our locations, we have hungry buyers agents motivated to sell our listings. When we get a lawn sign lead that comes in, it's answered. And within 3 minutes, we're going to have an agent on the phone with an active buyer who wants to just go show the house, right? ALM. Hey, John, it's Brandon with Chucktown Homes. I saw you're interested in 123 Main Street. When do you want to go take a look at it, right? You can ask the sellers if they feel like speed to lead is important. Every single one of them is going to say yes. Right? Great news, John. I have 35 agents on my Greenville team who are excited to show your property and will be calling buyers within 5 minutes of receiving the lead. And their sole goal is to set an appointment to come see this house, right? Here, you really want to be conversational. You don't want to be robotic. You want to match their energy, right? Mirror and match, and use you language. This means your home gets more visibility. You get faster buyer feedback. You get quicker results, right? Your language here matters. Now, guys, this is where I kind of do things a little bit differently. And so, like I said, I've done hundreds of listing appointments, and the way I've just kind of narrowed this in just always worked best for me, right? This is where I would give the pricing conversation. Now, you and I would agree that pricing is the biggest piece of marketing. If a home is incorrectly priced, we can do all the marketing right, but it's still not going to sell, right? So I would jokingly walk into this conversation with the seller. I would say something like, John, all this sounds great, right? The marketing sounds great. But John, would you agree with me that I could have the Goodyear blimp flying around your house, throwing out Chick-fil-A gift cards with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson standing at the front door welcoming buyers? And if it wasn't priced right, the house wasn't going to sell. They're going to say yes there. And then I would just give them the price. John, great. I agree with you. After all my research and seeing the home in person, I feel confident and comfortable that we should list your home for $400,000. And I would just be quiet here, guys. Here's why. One of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to say, yeah, Brandon, that sounds great. We were thinking exactly that. Great. Let's get out the listing paperwork and get this thing signed. Or they're going to say, well, Brandon, this doesn't really feel right to us. We were expecting more, or we were expecting it to be less, or we're not sure, right? But if they say, yes, let's go, just go ahead and sign the listing paperwork. So let's assume that's the first one, right? Let's assume just right now that they say, yeah, Brandon, $400,000 sounds great. Here's what I want you to do first. Let's present the homeward offer. Hey, John, listen, I agree with you. $400,000 is the fair market value of your home. One of the things that I preemptively did, just to see if this was a good option for you, because I know how important it is to have different options, is I generated a cash offer on your property through one of our partners called Homeward. Now, This offer, and guys, let's just say it's $350,000, right? This offer came in at $350,000 net to you. And the pros of this is that it's a guaranteed sell. They'll close in 21 days. It's a guaranteed check. You won't have to show the house, but it is expensive up front. John, is this an option that you would like to explore more, or is this not really a good fit for you? No pressure, right? We're not homeward salesmen. We're not open door salesmen. We're Chucktown Homes, right? So if they don't want to deal with the homeward cash offer, like, oh no, Brandon, that's too low, just laugh it off. Of course, yeah, I totally agree. I feel real confident about where your home's value is. Let's continue on and do the paperwork. I just wanted to make sure I presented all the options to you, right? Then you go on to the listing paperwork. Now, let's just assume that initially when you present the price, they say, "Ooh, Brandon, that doesn't sound right to me. I was expecting more or less or whatever that is." Yeah, great. John, let me tell you how I came up with that valuation, right? So I always started with the property that was not as nice as them. This is where I pull out my comps. So I'm pulling out the first comp that's not as nice as theirs. And I would say, John, here's the first comp that I found on your property. You can see that this one has one less bedroom. It doesn't have the nice kitchen that yours has, and has one less garage bay than yours does, and the acreage is a little smaller. John, would you agree that this home isn't as nice as yours? They're of course going to say yes. Yeah, John, me too. I think your home is much nicer than this one. This one sold for $350,000. Put it to the side. Then I would go to the comp that's nicer. And I would say, okay, John, here's the comp another comp that I found in your neighborhood. You can see that this one's a little bit larger. It's got about 600 more square feet. It's got an extra bedroom. The acreage is a tad bit bigger, and the master bathroom, wow, it's brand new. They just updated. John, would you agree that your house is beautiful, but this one just has a few more features than yours does? They would say yes. Yeah, great, John. I agree with you. This one's $450,000, and this one sold a few months ago. Then I would pull out the most similar comp. And I would say, John, here's the one that I found that's most like your property. It's the exact same floor plan with similar acreage. You guys have the exact same amount of updates. And I just feel like this is the best comp. It sold 6 months ago. John, would you agree that this house out of the three here is the most similar to yours? They're, of course, going to say yes. Say, great, John, listen, this home actually sold for $390,000, but they didn't have the tools and systems that we at Chucktown Homes have, and they just didn't have the great marketing that we have. They actually sold at $390,000, and what I'm suggesting to you is, because I just believe we're a better agent and team, we list a little bit higher because we have proven results. So that's why I suggested a $400,000 list price, right? Now, again, one of two things is going to happen. They're either going to say, oh, okay, I see that. Or they're going to say, well, no, I want to do something else. Let's assume they choose the first option. Well, all right, Brandon, I see what you're saying. Let's go ahead and sign. John, listen, it sounds like netting the most money possible is the important thing here. So I want to get out the listing paperwork and sign, but I just wanted to let you know as well that I did generate a cash offer. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a good fit here because you want to net the most money possible, which I'm in alignment with. But I wanted to let you know this cash offer is here just in case we need it. And it came in at $350,000 for Homeward. John, is this something you want to talk more about, or should we just put this to the side? Right? Again, no pressure. If they want to explore it more, then you can talk about Homeward all you want. If they say, no, that's not a fit, great, John, I agree. Let's get the listing paperwork and get it signed. Right? If they come back to you on the second option and say, well, Brandon, I'm still not convinced. I really want to push the market, and I really want to list it for $420,000. What are your thoughts there? Now, guys, another one of my favorite sayings is you can get away with almost anything as long as you set proper expectations, right? I'm cautious about accepting overpriced listings, and it's all relative to the price point, because $20,000 overpriced on $1 million house certainly isn't as significant as $20,000 overpriced on a $200,000 house, right? So it's all within those ranges, right? But I have honest conversations with them. I will say something like, hey, John, I totally get it. I want to push the market too. The thing that I want to avoid here, John, is this. Days on market, the longer your home sits on the market, is the enemy to your home's equity, right? And John, here's what I mean by that. You're moving to Charleston, South Carolina. Have you been looking on Zillow and Realtor.com? They're probably going to say yes. Great, John. Do you look at the price and usually the days on market when you're looking at those listings? They'll say yes. John, tell me why you look at the days on market. Oh, because if it's on there longer, I can get a better deal. Or, hey, there's something wrong with it. Or they might be desperate. Guys, I've used this objection handler a lot, and I can literally see it on their face when they're saying it. They're like, oh, I get it. I get what you're saying, right? So, John, yeah, I agree, right? I agree with all those. As a professional buyer's agent, I look at those things too, and if I think the same thing, I don't want your home to have a stigma on it because it has above average days on market. And if we overprice a home, sometimes that can happen. John, would you agree that $20,000 is a lot of money? Yes, right? Well, John, here's what happens. People are going to look at correctly priced $420,000 homes, and then they're going to look at your incorrectly priced $420,000 home that should be listed at $400,000. Now, those $420,000 listings have an extra 300 square feet or an extra bedroom or more acreage or a nicer bathroom or whatever that is. And they're going to look at your listing and say, well, that one doesn't have it, so I'm going to go to the competition. And that's going to continue to happen and happen and happen. The only thing overpricing your homes does is help sell the competition because they're going to see more value in the correctly priced homes as opposed to your correctly priced or incorrectly priced $400,000 house. Does that make sense? Right? Sometimes they're still going to say yes, and sometimes, well, I still think we could push the market. Great, John. Let's do that. But here, would you agree to this? If we don't have 10 showings in the first 2 weeks, or if we have 10 showings and no offers, would you agree that the market very likely has rejected our price? That's right. I mean, that's just objective truth. Hopefully they say yes there. Great, John. Let's do this then. If the market reacts to our price negatively, would you agree to a price drop? They should say yes here. If they don't say yes here, guys, I'd be very, very cautious about working with that client long term, right? Because again, remember, we're going to spend thousands of dollars on marketing and pictures and all that other good stuff for a house that may never sell. So, be reasonable in the price. If, again, $20,000 on $1 million house isn't that big of a deal, $20,000 on a $200,000 house is a significant percentage of that property, right? So just be realistic there. And again, setting expectations with the sellers like, hey, if this doesn't happen, we're going to have a price dropping conversation, makes that conversation easier down the road, right? So we agree on price finally, you pull out the listing paperwork and you get it all signed. Now, guys, let me talk to you real quick about sellers' net sheets. So remember, we're 7 locations in 4 different states. So your state's seller's net sheet might look a little bit different. But here's why seller net sheets are so important, right? And I'm going to do another video inside of this module showing you what a South Carolina seller's net sheet looks like. And yours is going to look similar, whatever location you're in. Partner with your team leader to really talk through this. But seller net sheets really protect you in the long term. They're going to have the purchase price on there. It's going to have, in South Carolina, we have stamps on deeds, right? We have taxes, we have commissions, we have estimated closing costs, attorney's fees, buyer's repairs, stuff like that. We're going to be really transparent with those numbers. And then I may not have mentioned it, but it's also going to have the mortgage payoff. You want to fill in all those numbers and do the math to show the sellers what they could potentially net, explaining that this is an estimate. And guys, I always had them sign this because this has come back and saved me numerous times. And every time you got an offer in, and I talk about this later in this training, every time I got an offer, I'm doing another seller's net sheet. So I'm going to do another video on how to complete a seller's net sheet and how to really talk about that. But don't forget to get one of those signs. So you finish up the paperwork, you're walking to the door. Guys, the number one thing is to set concrete next steps with the seller. John, listen, I'm so excited to be working with you. Make sure you use those magic erasers real well. If you need any more of them, just let me know. I'll have my assistant run some over. John, here's my next steps. I'm going to schedule pictures for next Tuesday at 2. I'll have the listing description and the templated MLS up and ready for Wednesday, and we're going to switch this over live on Thursday. Does that sound good to you, John? Right? Yes. Now, guys, we talk about later in this training on how to effectively communicate with our listing clients, but make sure you're setting that expectation too, that you're going to be communicating with them twice a week, once on Monday and once on Thursday, and that's how you go the extra mile for your clients. Guys, I could probably talk for another hour or two about the listing presentation, rolling through a mock presentation in this one specific training, but that wouldn't be beneficial for you guys for what this is. I'm going to add in a mock listing presentation in the next module so you guys can see it. And I hope that's helpful for you guys. Let's keep going and let's crush it.